don't have your point, even your story, connected to a point, it's going to be lost. If you don't have your point connected to something that sticks in your listener's brain. So what do I mean by that? We call it anchors. Anchors, like an anchor on a boat, keeps your boat from floating away. It keeps it in one place. It keeps it tied to a spot. Or an anchor, when you put a picture on a wall and it has a little anchor at the back, it holds it in place. The same thing is that it ties your point to something that is memorable. So even if I'm sharing with you concepts that are not familiar with you, for you, if I tie it to something that you're familiar with, it'll help you to understand, it'll unlock understanding, and it'll also unlock the ability to remember. Like, for example, when I told you the story about the DNA sequence and about how they turned this raw data into a sequence and a structure so that they could hear and connect faster with people in terms of the ability to detect what was a mutation. Taking that into a format that was easier to receive, easier to understand, and easier to be impacted by. It's the same thing with speaking, right? So I gave you that concept to say the same thing with speaking. With all of your content, you need to be able to put it into a structure and a sequence that is simpler, that's concise, that's easier for you to remember, but also easier for your listener to receive and be impacted by. Okay? So this is what you need to know. If part of the structure for every point, you want to tie it to what's called an anchor. Now there's 4 main anchors. You can write this down. It's not in your notes. They all begin with the letter A. The first one is an anecdote, which is just another fancy word for story. Story. The second one is an activity. The third one is an acronym. And the fourth one is an analogy. Jesus used analogies all the time. He said, the kingdom of heaven is like, and he compared something, he was communicating a concept that was unfamiliar, and he tied it to something that was familiar in order to bridge the understanding. So now what you do is you want to tie that to an anchor. How can you best illustrate this point so people get it and it sticks in their brain, it sticks in their mind? Because listen, I don't know about you, but I don't want you just to remember in the moment what I'm saying. I want you to remember long after I finish speaking, because that's really the greatest impact. Is 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 months down the road. Oh yeah, I remember Lisa said this. She shared this part, and she talked about this. If you remember the anchor, you'll remember the point.